Hey, Sam, so good to see you. And thanks for making the time difference work. I really appreciate it.
Sure. Yeah, it's so funny. It's end of day here, but obviously much earlier in the States. So it's like
Yeah.
the middle of the workday.
Between you, me, and Chris, I think we have the globe covered with
We do.
New York, London, and LA.
Oh, too funny.
Yeah, well, I'm so excited that we get to do this today. I'm excited to just jump in. So if you don't mind, I will start off by asking what's unique about TikTok?
Yeah, that's a great place to start. So when we think about traditional social, people are often kind of browsing while they're doing other things. So you might be in a meeting and you're on your phone scrolling through social, but you can't do that with TikTok. TikTok has obviously sound as one of the core components. So if you were in a meeting or, on a plane or something without headphones on and you were just trying to like browse TikTok, everybody around you would know what you were doing. So because of that, we say that people are browsing social, but they're watching TikTok. So TikTok really isn't a traditional social platform. It's much more of an entertainment platform. I know at the recent Advertising Week event in New York, I think it was Emily Ratajkowski referred to TikTok as competing now more with like a Netflix or a Hulu than social. So I think that's really interesting. And because of the sound on nature of the platform, you really have your audience's undivided attention while they're on TikTok. We also know that people are spending an average of 90 minutes a day or more on TikTok. So you have this undivided attention and you have so much time spent. What I'd also say is the personalized discovery that you get on TikTok and how entertaining the creative is really makes the For You feed so unique for each person. So I've heard a lot of people say that they feel like their For You feed knows them better than they know themselves. And I'll say personally, when I'm on another social platform, I see something funny and I want to share it with a friend. I'll often notice when I look at the likes that my friends have already liked it because we're often following the same accounts. But when I'm on my For You feed on TikTok, it's such a special kind of discovery. It feels truly personalized. So when I do find something that's new, I'm really excited to share it because I know everyone's not going to know about it. I could keep going for hours on this, but I'll wrap up with the final thing I'd say is the content style. So when you think about traditional social, I think we've all gotten used to that like aspirational curated content. And that's really designed to create this like kind of perfect curated life. But when you think about the content you see on TikTok, it's often pretty unpolished and authentic. And it's real people and it's incredibly relatable. And I think that the most special thing about it is that it drives that really deep sense of community through like those two-way conversations.
Yeah, greatly said. And actually, that leads us into my next comment or next question, which is going to be what works creatively on the platform?
Yeah, so we spend a lot of time answering this question. I think there's been a lot of education that's had to happen for, how to create the best content for TikTok. And I think creators have really led the charge there and we've learned a lot from them. So a couple of the core principles. So sound on. So I know in my advertising agency days, we were always telling brands, you have to assume people are listening with sound off. So put captions. TikTok, it's the opposite. It's like something like 93% of our audience listens with sound on. And so the result is that if you don't use sound, we see a 15% skip rate. So super important to incorporate sound, whether it's music or audio, you just really need sound. Creators, I would say creator content outperforms non-creator content pretty substantially. And this is across full funnel. So all the way up from awareness down to actual purchase. So based on the research we've done, 1 in 3 people on TikTok have bought something off of a creator recommendation. And I've heard people describe creators as like one person that you're hiring that fills so many roles. They're the creative director, the community manager, and the platform expert all in one. So it's kind of a good deal. Then when we think about trends, so users love trends. It's over 70% of our audience says that they love when brands tap into trends. And I would call out that not every trend is right for every brand. And I think creators are a really good way to leverage trends kind of authentically. But 2 examples that I really like of brands that use trends really successfully. Everyone's probably seen this ad nauseum, but the Corn Kid, he and Chipotle was a really good alignment because Chipotle is obviously a brand that serves corn. So I think they acted really fast and were able to leverage that trend in a really awesome way. But like if a beauty brand had wanted to use the corn trend, I think it would have been a little weird. And the other example that I love was actually HBO and House of Dragon. So they had two actresses talking about their favorite cocktails. And this video went viral. It ended up with over 11 million views, a million likes, and the sound itself inspired over 72,000 video creations. There's again a lot more I could say here, but I would say the last two things: always be vertical, always mobile first. So we know that when you create custom for TikTok, you see longer view times, higher engagement rates versus repurposed content. And the last thing I would say is that our partners, like influential, are best in class. So for any brands looking for creator content, you can check out our website. So it's tiktokmarketingpartners.com. And essentially through that website, we list out all of our badged partners, which includes influential. And through those badged programs, our partners have access to our creator marketplace API. And it basically just helps partners match creators with the best brands. So definitely recommend checking that out.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, I was gonna say earlier, to your point around like being intentional, right? Like not using trends for the sake of using trends, but being more intentional, knowing your audience, how they're naturally, consuming content, and placing your brand in a more authentic way versus force feeding it into. There's so many trends, and there's going to be a new one tomorrow and the next day, and then
So
the
many
day
trends.
after.
Exactly. Yeah. And we hear from brands, they really want to jump on every trend, but trends are quick and then they're gone. So I think creators are a great way that we've seen brands tap into trends, because if you have a creator that you have a great relationship with and you're comfortable letting them post, without always getting approval, you might be able to have creators that could actually jump on the trend in a much quicker way.
Yep, exactly. And actually that's a great segue into my next question, which is how are creators on TikTok different? And I think you touched on that in your last answer.
Yeah.
I'd love to expand on it a little bit more.
Yeah, so the way that I describe it is I think of influencers and creators, and I kind of think about what are the differences, right? Influencers I think of as people who might not be creators. They might just be people who have a lot of followers. So celebrities, Kim Kardashian, there's tons of people who are influencers, but maybe they don't really make content.
Right.
And I think a lot of that has been in that traditional space of being very like aspirational and curated, right? So there are people who are recommending products to you, and because you value their opinion, you're like, okay, I'll check this out. Creators may have a lot of followers, they may have 0 followers, but the real difference is that creators are known for the content they make. So we survey people all the time about how they perceive TikTok creators, and we hear things like approachable, down to earth, believable, authentic, and relatable. So as a result, the creators that are on TikTok are often seen as like a trusted friend versus an influencer. So a lot of the recommendations that they're making really feel like something that a friend is telling you to buy versus like this completely out of touch influencer.
Yeah, we see that as well on campaigns. It's, I think the theory is called a mimetic theory, where it's this intermediary in between the brand and the consumer, and people are it's definitely data backed, but there's more science behind people more willing to trust a friend's recommendation than something coming directly from the brand itself. And we see that come to fruition on our campaigns all the time. And even with brands, when we consult with our brands on their creator initiatives, we really say, think about a long-term partnership versus just like these one-off types of creator campaigns, because longer term partnerships with creators, they not only help build that association between creator and brand, but it also helps almost essentially have an extension of the team, because they essentially know the product, they know your reasons to believe, they can effectively communicate that in their authentically creative way. And it just helps fortify that relationship a little bit more. So we see a lot more success too with those longer term partnerships versus just contracting in, a one-off capacity.
For sure, because also the creator's audience notices that too. So if a creator
Right.
is consistently posting about the same brand, the followers and the audience are going to really believe that that creator is working with that brand and not just taking on every brand deal. It's like if you see a creator and every week it's a different brand deal, it's like it really loses credibility. But when you
Yeah.
develop that long-term relationship where a creator is regularly interacting with the brand, and then you see that over weeks, months, even years, it just
Mhm.
adds to that credibility because the audience is going to find it a lot more believable and be a lot more inclined to trust their recommendation.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as the creator economy continues to boom, what trends are you starting to see emerge across TikTok?
Yeah, so I think I've mentioned a few of them, but I'll just reiterate because they are so important.
Yep.
But really, when you think about just how our creators are perceived, so things like down to earth, relatable, easygoing, friendly, honest, and sincere, that is something that is so new to the space. And we know that the trust and relatability. So over 75% of our audience says creator videos are believable, and almost 70% say creators feel approachable. So what's really cool about that is that we're seeing that translate to both participation. So this one I think is amazing. Over 60% of TikTok users have made a video off of something they saw a creator do. So a trend that's out there, personal trend that I am constantly seeing is one thing about me. So I'm sure you've seen that one out there. People see trends from creators and then they recreate them. So there's this awesome participation element. And then super important when it comes to actual purchases, over 1/3 of our audience, and that's just what we know of, has made a purchase off of a creator recommendation. And I'm sure you know the TikTok made me buy it hashtag. It
Yep.
has every week it goes up by a couple billion. I think this week it's at over 28 billion video views against that hashtag. And
Wow.
I've actually heard from a lot of people when they want something to buy and they don't know what they want, they will go on TikTok and search TikTok made me buy it and see what other people are buying so that they're inspired to purchase. So I'd say just fascinating to see A, how much participation is coming out of the creator universe, and then B, how much it's driving business results. I think that trustworthy content coming from a creator is making such an impact versus the very traditional like hard sell ad approach that we were so used to. So I'd say those are like the core ways that creators are really driving phenomenal impact on TikTok.
Yeah, I think I've done that. I've I've gone onto the hashtag to see. I think the other thing too is with the creative videos, right, about different things that TikToks me buy. A lot of it is because it's helped better something, whether it's, a skin routine or literally something in your house, fixing it, or, something with your car. Everything that I've seen, I'm like, wow, I didn't
Right.
realize that could do that. And so yeah, a lot of it's not only educational, but it helps to actually add value to something that, from your everyday, which is great.
Right.
Yep. And so yeah, we're seeing some creators starting to build their own products in brick and mortar locations. So do you see this as an opportunity for brands to get involved?
Yeah, so we love this. We talk about this all the time internally, and I think it goes back to actually the point you made earlier of around building that real partnership versus like one-offs.
Mhm.
So when we tell brands that are working with creators that like our number one piece of advice is give them a seat at the table. So you're hiring this creator because they know their audience and they know how to make great content. And so they can really be an asset to the brand. And when you bring a creator into the brand universe, they feel that really deep connection to the brand. And I think you mentioned this perfectly earlier. When someone has a deeper connection to a brand, they can talk about the brand and its products more authentically. So if you have a beauty creator and you just send them a product, it's like, okay, they're trying the product out, they like it, they'll post about it. But if you bring them to like where the products are made and you bring them, to Bloomingdale's and they go behind the counter and they learn about how the, salespeople are talking about the product and seeing how the customers interact, they're going to have so much more expertise and be able to represent your brand so much better.
Mm.
So I think just in all ways, give your creators a seat at the table. And then in a lot of cases now, it's leading to co-developing products. So, the mention of brick and mortar, some examples that we love, well, one in particular is Remy Bader and her partnership with Revolve.
Mhm.
So we know that what happened was she created an amazing community on TikTok where she had, I think it was like 2.5 million followers. And she was doing these like realistic clothing haul videos, which is
Mhm.
something that I think so many people relate to, where you order clothes off of a website or based on an ad that you've seen. And then the clothes come and they look horrible on you. They don't fit, the sizes are wrong. And so she was really giving this like voice to that issue that a lot of people had. And I think people really related to that. And that's why she was able to garner such a huge community. So then when she was able to partner with Revolve, it was really awesome because she became one of the loudest voices advocating for more plus size friendly fashion. So it was a really great example of a brand, Revolve, realizing that this creator was filling like a white space that they maybe weren't paying attention to. And so the idea of, instead of just using her as a spokesperson, they actually co-designed the line. So I think she was really invested in it. She was passionate about it. She already had this great community. So it was a great way for a brand to use a creator to like expand a product line, reach a new audience, and build that really like authentic, natural relationship that people would be excited to buy.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it's putting their money where their mouth is, right? It's like not only
Yep.
just having contracting with Remy just to say, hey, love your style hauls, like how can we fit in? It's saying like, oh no, 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 how can we be more inclusive with our clothing, and how can you help us do that? Because clearly, there's room for improvement, and we'd love to partner to make that happen. So I think that's great.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's a great, I love the word inclusive that you just brought up. I think it was really great awareness on the brand's behalf to say, okay, we're missing an audience who's clearly not feeling great about, their experience with our brand.
Mhm.
And I think it widened Revolve's audience to bring in this audience that was maybe feeling a little bit neglected by the fashion community. And then they got a spokesperson and a new audience kind of all in one. So yeah, love it. I'm excited to see more of that probably into 2023.
Yeah, I love thinking about creators as a sales channel. And what we've been saying with creator commerce too is that, with creators, it's not just how it's not just leveraging the content, right, to put up shop now CTA on it and call it a day. It's more of these partnerships, right, are essentially adding another revenue stream for the
Right.
brand, because it's another touch point for brands to be able to interact and purchase something from the brand. So I think it's evolving the thinking away from, and this is kind of influential. This has been Influential's MO since inception, but it's not really about vanity metrics. It's about how do we
Right.
leverage creators to actually satisfy your business needs and solve your business challenges. And so if that's sales, it's thinking how can we evolve the role of creators in the brand strategy to offer that, to become that sales channel
Right.
advocate for the brand. So I think that's so important too, as we talk more about creator commerce. It's
Mhm.
about using these creators as another sales channel.
Yeah, no, I love that. Totally makes sense.
Yeah. And so I'm curious for your perspective on this one. Are creators more inclined to partner with brands that have sales KPIs, or looking for more awareness campaigns?
It's a tough question. I would say that we often see that creator campaigns are more full funnel. And
Hmm.
so we see brand collaborations happening across all KPIs and objectives. So when we look at the impact of creators on TikTok for brands, we see all kinds of amazing lifts. So from the upper funnel perspective, we'll see like higher 6-second view through rates, 83% higher engagement rate, higher
Hmm.
ad recall. We're seeing on average that videos with creators in them have 3-second longer watch times. So when you're thinking about that upper funnel, it's like a lot of those metrics, the engagement are really showing that there's more.
Hmm.
And then we also know that when we do a ton of research on what's working, both with creators and then just any standard brand content. And it's honestly my favorite thing to do is just read the research and learn about what's working. So When we talk about unpolished and like lo-fi DIY aesthetic, we also see full funnel results. So we saw on average a 76% increase in uniqueness, a 33% increase in consideration. So that's like moving kind of down the funnel, a 32% increase in brand likability. So again, that's upper. And then from a lower funnel, we see a 12% increase in purchase intent when you're using that like lo-fi kind of unpolished. And then what I would say is we do a lot of brand lift analyses just to kind of gauge that perception and how creators are impacting brands. But a lot of our brands who work with creators are also doing things like sales lift studies, or they're looking at sales during the period when creators are promoting. We
Mhm.
often see obviously tremendous results in the lower funnel. And I think a lot of that ties back to the TikTok made me buy it. We know that when creators are supporting beauty brands, they'll often sell out of products. So I
Mhm.
would say that I don't think that creators necessarily care what the KPI, like they, of course they care, but I would say that there's not just one kind of KPI or one type of campaign that works, especially because if a brand is repeatedly working with a creator and they build that long-term partnership, it's going to increase that awareness and the association. And
Yeah.
then if people are trusting that creator and find the content believable, which is general sentiment that we're seeing, then we know that those lower funnel transactions are going to happen. So I'd say it's really about finding the right collaboration. And we always say if you bring joy and entertainment to audiences, the conversions are going to follow. So long-winded way of saying, I think it's okay for creators and brands to engage at any point in the funnel, but it's especially great when you look at it from a full funnel perspective. Start with that like awareness so that people are really associating the brand and the creator. And then
Mhm.
over time, really get to that point where when you are promoting products from the brand, it's authentic and believable, and your audience, is already convinced, so they'll be more likely to convert.
Yeah, well said. There's a lot of times when we're consulting for brands on the lower funnel, and it takes time, right, for sales success, right?
Mhm.
Because it takes time to shift people's behaviors. So, for example, when as you just described, right, taking time to build the right collaboration, so then run for a few months to have that, more awareness or just more introductory messaging, or to introduce basically the collaboration, and then
Right.
over time, yeah, you'll see sale, yeah, contracting with the creator and then immediately expecting that you're going to see a return.
Right. It's
it's
not
it's
realistic.
yeah, it's just like anything, right? It's just like any medium, right? It's like if the more that you only focus on one thing is the quicker you're
Right.
going to hit diminishing returns. So when we consult our clients, we say you should always be running full funnel, because
Right.
otherwise, you're going to stifle your growth by only focusing on in one area. That pool is already really small to begin with, and you want to make sure
Right.
you're doing it in a healthy way.
Totally agree. And I think even if
Yeah.
we think back to like the Revolve example, if
Yeah.
you think of creators as a way to reach new audiences, you have to first start with that upper funnel piece. If there's not that
Yeah.
awareness and that understanding, then you're not going to get that conversion. So, and I think you're spot on with that. If brands expect like I hired a creator, why aren't sales changing overnight? It's
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes time, and I think there's a lot of research that shows that you need repeat exposures. I'm sure you talk about this a lot with your clients, but it's not just like you see the ad once and then you make the purchase. You've got to see that ad many times, and then you start thinking about it, and maybe you come back later and then you make the purchase. But it's like that constant exposure, and the more that you see that partnership in front of you, I think you're more likely to convert, and it takes time.
Yeah, and with the right collaboration too, like for example, I follow Remy on TikTok, and I love her videos, and when she did enter into that Revolve partnership, it's it I didn't notice that first. I saw Remy
Right.
in the video first, and I was like, oh, it's Remy. And then I was then that's what made me stay, right? And then
Right.
as I was, listening more to the video, and I actually didn't even realize, me as a marketer, didn't even realize that it was like an ad or a paid ad at the
Yeah.
time. But yeah, until I looked at the caption, right, and
That's
saw
the
the,
best, right? When you see the
yeah.
hashtag and you're like, oh my God, I thought that
No,
was
that was
okay.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how you know it's good. But no,
yeah,
it's the creator more often than not that will get people to stop scrolling, right? And so when you
yeah,
think about, especially on TikTok, I can't even imagine how many, if you want to translate it into feet of content, like from scrolling like a day people have on
yeah.
TikTok. I mean, like that's
A
gotta
lot.
be wild number. But thinking about, right, the nature of how people are naturally consuming content on TikTok, just scrolling, what will make people stop the scroll? It's more often than not seeing one of the creators or friends that they
Right,
follow, right? And so
for sure.
yeah, that's really well said. And so actually, speaking of that, I wanted to talk about, how is TikTok supporting the creators' needs for education around how to work with brands?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are so leaned into this because we know that it's a new space and brands and creators all need education. So I would say one of the core ways that we support creators is through partners, so like influential. So through our TikTok Marketing Partners Badge program, our team, my team in particular, works really collaboratively with our partners. And the goal is to make sure that we're arming you guys with the best information. So we're always working on developing new training materials. We recently started a webinar series. So our partner marketing team, led by someone fantastic on my team named Bronzy,
Mhm.
we're bringing in guest speakers and we're doing like a monthly or quarterly webinar where we're giving our partners exclusive access to internal people at TikTok who are best in class in certain areas. So I think that's one thing. It's just access and training. I recently learned about our creative center, which I actually learned about on that webinar. And for anyone who hasn't been to the TikTok Creative Center, I would highly recommend checking it out. Within the center, there are all of these great resources like trends and top performing ads. And this is available to everyone. And it's an amazing opportunity to just see what's working and what's trending on TikTok right now. And then the other thing I'd say actually is brand admission. So I think you guys are familiar, but we recently launched brand admission as an awesome way for brands to tap into creators. So through the brand admission, basically brands will put a call to action out and then creators can submit videos for brands to choose from. And then if they find one that they like and they want to add paid media behind it, then the creator gets paid. So that's an awesome way for brands to kind of figure out really what's going to work for them. So they get all this amazing crowdsourced content, and it's an opportunity to like introduce creators to brands. We know that there are a lot of people out there who are already passionate about a brand, and we know that they can be a great advocate, but it's not always the easiest for them to kind of find each other. So through things like the brand admission, it's a great way for us to help make those connections and really kind of foster that collaboration and education between brands and creators.
Yeah, that's great. And shout out to Bronzy. We
Yes.
appreciate all you do. And so, how should brands think about utilizing creators as a means to reach the right consumers to purchase their product?
Yep. So I'm going to give you guys another shout out again. So through partners like Influential,
Yeah.
one of the most amazing things you guys have access to is our API, our TikTok Creator Marketplace API. So what that gives you guys access to, and the small group of partners that are in our badge program access to, is deeper insights around a creator's engaged audience. So I think you made a great point earlier about vanity metrics. So if you're not plugged into our API and you're just looking at the creator's metrics on TikTok natively, you're going to see things like, how many followers they have. And we know that that's not ultimately what's most important on TikTok. It's really about who's engaging with their content. So through the TTCM API, you guys have access to that information. The people that are following a creator may be very different from the people that are engaging with their content. So an example I love, which I know is actually also an influential customer, is Elf. I mention Elf a lot because I think they really do an amazing job. But I know that they leveraged gaming creators to reach new audiences on TikTok. And I thought what was really interesting about that was the people that they chose were gamers, but they're also women and they also buy beauty products. And we know that there's a strong gaming community that is also overlapping with beauty. So that's the kind of thing that you might not have thought of kind of naturally. But I would say through the API, you guys are able to really understand the nuances to each individual and identify the creators that may be overlooked by a traditional beauty brand, but actually there is a really great opportunity to reach a new audience.
Yeah, that's great. I think all audiences, right, are multifaceted. And I think for someone like Elf, right, they understand that there is, we think of audiences almost like, concentric circles. So it's
Right.
like, okay, there's this gaming audience, but then there's also, they also have these affinities, or they also, play this sport or do this on the side, or, shop here and like to watch this type of content on, Hulu, Netflix, etc. So it's interesting when we pull those types of market intelligence reports too, because we're thinking through, okay, of the people who are purchasing this product, or thinking of it from the brand side too, right? And then marrying it up with the creator insights, it's really, it makes the campaign that much stronger, because you're
Sure.
truly dealing with like high propensity audiences at that point with your
Yeah.
marketing. And yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's like especially hard to find the exact right creators on TikTok because of how like multidimensional each creator is, and just each
Mhm.
person that you're following on TikTok or seeing video content from, it's so different. I should
Yep.
also mention that if anyone is not working with a partner, the TikTok Creator Marketplace is a self-serve option. So for brands who are just trying to learn about creators or dabbling, the TikTok Creator Marketplace is a great resource for that, because you can go in and you can really kind of deep dive into audiences. So for 101 and really wanting to figure out how to work with creators, I would recommend everybody go on TikTok Creator Marketplace and play around. And then if you want that extra support, Influential and our other badge partners are amazing resources, because they are experts on the creator marketplace and can help find like all the best in class creators.
Thanks, Sam. Great call to action. So, and
Yeah,
speaking of call to
definitely check it out. Yeah.
speaking of call to action, so measurement is always a hot topic when it comes to creators. What are some key points brands should know about what and how to measure the success of a creator campaign?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when we think about measurement, we have three different buckets, and
Mhm.
they're kind of easy to remember. So the first one is analyze impact. So that's really about like what's actually happening at the, purchase level. The
Mhm.
second is around building performance. And then the third is about being safe and being seen. So
Mhm.
in the safe and seen bucket, those are a lot of things like around viewability, invalid traffic. So we partner with Moat, Double Verify, and IAS. So
Mhm.
those are some great partners that really help advertisers feel positive that their ads are actually being seen. And
Yep.
then brand safety is huge for us. We invest so much in this area. So we have lots of partners in the brand safety space that we work with, like OpenSlate, IAS, and
Mhm.
Zephyr. And then when it comes to performance, so there's two kind of main ways that that brands are tracking performance. So one is through attribution manager. So like in their ads manager account, they'll have
Mhm.
a pixel, so they can track things like conversions, app events, anything like that. And then the second thing that brands often do for performance measurement is studies. So brand lift studies, they can do in-store studies, sales lift studies, and media mix modeling. So we have tons of different partners, like all platforms to measure all of those types of things. And then when we talk about the creator marketplace measurement, so a couple of things that we recently announced around campaign reporting. So we now have like what we're calling a more powerful post-campaign insight report than we've ever had before. And the goal is to allow brands to gain deeper insights into how creator marketing is performing. So you'll get metrics like audience overlap, audience interest distribution, a lot of the things we were actually just talking about,
Mhm.
Spark ad, campaign dates, and more. So there are going to be all these new branded content metrics coming out. And the four kind of key questions that we're trying to answer are: one, who is the core audience with whom the video or campaign is performing well? Two,
Mhm.
how engaged is the audience? We know that a more engaged audience is going to care more and be more likely to purchase. Three, when did the video receive paid media support? So we get asked probably on a daily basis if we can separate paid and organic. We're working on it. And then the fourth area there is how a video is performing relative to similar videos. So we're working every day through feedback we get from partners and just the marketplace to try to be as tight as we can with reporting on creators. So everything from all the partners that we work with in the measurement space to all the changes we're making directly in our creator marketplace are all things aimed at helping brands feel more confident that the work they're doing with creators is paying off and driving meaningful business results.
Yeah, that's great. We also very commonly have conversations with clients around the types of success we've seen with various lower funnel metrics on TikTok. And for example, we help to drive through the Angry Birds game. We help to drive in-app purchases, leveraging creators. Actually, for that one, it was a very, very fun campaign. The creators were Melissa Gorga from the Real Housewives of New Jersey and
Oh,
Christine
wow.
from Selling Sunset. And but we helped to drive very successful in-app purchases with the game. We also helped to drive ticket sales for Essence Festival. We also successfully had a really successful live shopping event with Elf, one of
Oh,
our
awesome.
clients we mentioned earlier. So yeah, it's very diverse in terms of the success we've seen in lower funnel. And again, it takes time, right? It takes, it takes that awareness and that consideration layer and ensuring that we have enough, enough insight to really drive the message home and enact a actual sale or purchase or whatever. But
Right.
the fact that, we've been seeing success across all of these different types of lower funnel KPI really speaks to the success of, using TikTok as a platform, and using it the right way. It can really be successful
Yeah.
for
That's awesome. I love those examples. And I would just say, I know that brands sometimes will have an asset or a video that is really upper funnel, and then they're trying to measure like sales lift, or they'll
Mhm.
have something that's really, in that lower funnel type of space, but then they want to measure brand lift. So I would just say, this seems obvious, but just aligning your measurement goals with your content strategy is so important. So if ultimately your campaign goal is around that lower funnel, like you're going to want to have a really strong call to action. And if it's really around that like brand equity piece, you're going to want to make sure that you're really sharing like the core values of the brand. So I think just even from a very simple place, just making sure that as you're putting together your measurement and your content strategy, it's like these things are aligning and you're measuring the right kind of things against the right kind of assets.
Yeah, you just answered my next question. It was going to be what makes for successful commerce content on TikTok. And I think the foundation is what you mentioned, which is like making sure that the messaging adds up to what you're trying to. I think that's step one, right? Making sure that that's what your messaging is aligned to the KPIs you're looking for. But any other best practices you've seen around successful creator commerce content?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a lot of what I've already said. So I'm sure
Yep.
everyone's heard this at nauseum, but it is the truth. So I'm going to say it again. Unpolished, authentic content is really resonating more than like a hard sell ad on TikTok. So we do a lot of research on this topic. And where we've kind of landed is that when you just see like a traditional ad on TikTok, like a repurposed TV commercial, it feels disruptive. It feels like I'm on TikTok, I'm watching videos, I'm entertained, I'm having fun, and then you've interrupted that fun with this branded, content. But if it's creator content and it's unpolished and it's authentic and it feels like, to your point, when you saw the Revolve and Remy ads, you didn't
Yep.
even realize they were ads. So when it feels like something that's like organically fitting in on TikTok, you're not as annoyed or feeling like it's disrupting your flow.
Mhm.
So I think the more that they can lean into that, again, we know it's working. We've seen that 1 in 3 people have bought something off of a creator recommendation, and it's probably way more than that. That's just what we know. The number of video views against TikTok made me buy it speaks for itself. But I'd say also there's not really one right way to do creator commerce. If there was, I think we would just be like, here's the magic formula. There's no magic
Yeah.
formula. But what we have learned from studying billions of ads and looking at so much research is that if you are honest and authentic, you're trend driven and relatable, you're native and creator centric, and you're interesting, you're at the very least going to get the attention of the audience. And we know that when they are engaged and they're paying attention and they're feeling that joy and they're excited, they're way more likely to make a purchase. So I would just say always approaching it from the angle of like what's going to fit in on TikTok in a way that people are going to want to pay attention to. If you start there and then you have a good product and you're displaying it in a good way, I think you're really going to see those conversions follow.
Yeah, I love that so much. And we've seen so much success with doing it that way as well, figuring out what's going to fit in, what's going to be the best way to have somebody stop literally scrolling when you think about how fast that behavior is, and thinking through, that attention grabbing type of creative, and then adding that, call to action to make it easy to purchase something. I think that's great. Thanks so much, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Chris.
Hi.
I'm like the playoff music at the award shows. Great session, guys. That was so awesome. I love the elf call out. Corey Marchesotto, their CMO, is a very good friend of mine, so I'm going to tell her that you were talking about her on our live cast. That's awesome.
It's the best. I love the elf content. I think it's just like such a great example of how they became such like an amazing brand for Gen Z through their awesome creator work.
Yeah, no, everything they do is so cutting edge, and definitely no exception when it comes to their TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, thank you guys so much. A special thank you with you being all the way over in Europe. Hope that you have a great trip.
Thank you.